The big question of which character to pick is a tough one to answer, and these are the 5 most important things to consider when it comes to Ganyu or Xiao. But first, a quick message from today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Honkai Impact 3rd, an awesome anime action RPG game from the same creators of Genshin Impact, and their latest collaboration together with Neon Genesis Evangelion features Asuka as the newest Valkyrie that any player can unlock for free, and what's even better, the original anime voice actress helped create Asuka's voice lines for this collaboration. You can definitely feel the iconic anger coming from Asuka, and her stylish attacks are not only delivering devastating damage, but also feature some of the coolest moves a Valkyrie can do. You'll also get to fight one of the terrifying angels in the event, and to completely transform the experience, the game's interface will be changed into a beautiful Eva-style design. Speaking of which, some of the Valkyries will also get their own exclusive Eva costumes, and all players who participate in the event will get Kiana's new costume for free. So make sure not to miss out on this awesome collaboration by clicking on the link below the video and downloading the game, and any new player who joins now will get 100 supply tickets which you can use to summon for new Valkyries. Your support means everything to us, so if you want to help us out and get a ton of free rewards today, make sure to click on the download link below and join this exciting collaboration today. The first thing that we always need to take a look at would be the character's alignment to their elements, and this time around, Ganyu belonging to Cryo and Xiao to Anemo is certainly an interesting comparison to be made, since it is widely accepted in the community that Cryo, Pyro, Electro, and Hydro are considered to be the major offensive elements, while Anemo and Geo are mainly there for support. But it also just so happens that Anemo and Geo are kind of neutral elements, and there are very few enemies in the game that are immune to their elemental damage, while there's plenty of monsters who have resistance to elements like Cryo, not to mention those annoying slimes with cryo armor. So you could say that fighting enemies using an Anemo element is going to be more widely applicable than cryo, and that's quite an important thing to consider, since the less you depend on your elements, the more diverse the character can be. And yet, if you ever step into the Spiral Abyss, you know that the biggest problem, besides lack of resources to have 2 functioning teams, are the actual enemies inside the floors, since they tend to heavily influence your team building choices because of their so-called shields. And the most annoying enemies that go into this list are the Abyss Mages and Fatui Skirmishers. And because Cryo can actually break Electro Shields, the element has more weight than Anemo, and it basically solves one problematic encounter. And yes, you can technically break shields with Anemo as well, and it involves using swirl reaction from enemies that are affected by an element, and then swirling their status onto a close-by enemy that has a shield which is weak to that element. But achieving this is time-consuming and requires coordination, and the more enemies are around you, the less likely you'll be able to achieve this. So the main takeaway of these 2 characters, if you care about their element, would be that Ganyu can actually break Electro Shields without a problem, and what's even better, she can do this from a safe distance thanks to her ranged attacks. While on the other hand, Xiao has a better chance of fighting more enemy types that aren't immune to his element, and he can also possibly break any shield in the game, provided he can do the swirl reaction at the right time and place, even though it won't be the most effective way of doing it. There seems to be a trend where MiHoYo keeps releasing characters that depend on some sort of a unique mechanic to unleash their full potential, and Ganyu, together with Xiao, don't shy away from this either. And it all comes down to what you really prefer as a player. Do you want to unleash powerful charge shots with Ganyu which heavily depend on your aiming, even if they have a pretty big explosion radius, or do you want someone like Xiao who relies on constant plunge attacks from his burst? And one could say that using these plunge attacks is going to be easier, at least from the gameplay perspective, but at the same time, you are putting yourself into a dangerous position by landing close to your enemies instead of using charge shots from a safer distance. But one thing that's definitely interesting about these 2 characters is that while they depend on their own unique devastating attacks, their elemental skills speak differently about them. And we have already seen that Ganyu's skill allows her to quickly retreat and leave a flower behind her, which pulls the enemy's attention, while Xiao's skill allows him to quickly zip around the enemies with his dash attack, which lets him also traverse locations, but more importantly, it also allows him to quickly reposition himself if he's about to do his burst plunging attacks. So this basically tells you that even if they depend heavily on their main offensive strategy, they both have their elemental skills that further enable their unique playstyle. So if you're thinking which one feels more left out from their overall design, thankfully Ganyu and Xiao are not lacking in their identity and know exactly how to fully exploit their abilities. Of course, at the time this video was made, Xiao was still not released globally, and there's no actual data to back up his damage multipliers, even if the main discussion point here is to analyze his overall theme and strategy. When it comes to team building, one thing is very clear about Ganyu. She can be easily used as your main damage dealer or support character, and this is clearly exemplified by her elemental burst and skill, which can be used by quickly swapping her in and out, and if you want to stick around with her, you can use her insanely powerful charge shots and deliver even more massive damage. On the other hand, Xiao is looking to be someone whose biggest interest will be to serve you as your main damage dealer, and obviously, nothing ever prevents you from using any character as your typical support, but the main argument why he simply is better as someone whom you would use as your main damage dealer all comes down to a very simple fact, and that's because you need to remain active with him on the battlefield in order to keep using his elemental burst. Now, the only way this argument can be deflected would be a case similar to Klee's, where on her 4th constellation you would unlock a very powerful ability that lets her leave the battlefield with an explosion, even if her burst duration is not over yet, and we would need to see something similar from Xiao's constellations to even consider him a capable support character. So if you're looking for a character that has a more flexible role in the team, Ganyu might be someone you want to pursue, while Xiao is more or less better suited to act as your main damage dealer. You could sit there and compare characters based on their abilities and other analytical data, but at the end of the day, this is still a video game and having fun is the most important factor. And fun is a very subjective thing that's impossible to measure on an objective level, and the easiest way players can determine if they will enjoy the character is by appreciating their playstyle. And the problem with this, of course, is well, at the moment we can test and see how Ganyu's playstyle fits you personally. When Xiao arrives, she will be gone if you haven't still unlocked her, so it's a bit of a tricky situation, and judging how much fun you can have by looking at some trailers or old gameplay footage won't really make things more clear for you. So the only thing that's left is speculation mixed together with an already concrete information, since we already know in general how it feels to play Ganyu, but when it comes to Xiao, the best way to determine if you will enjoy his playstyle would be to ask yourself if you find the idea of gaining the power to super jump and landing crushing plunge attacks excites you, and if you also like the fact you can quickly zip around the enemies by using Xiao's elemental skill. Now combine the two and imagine if having insane mobility sounds something that you can appreciate, or does it look to be a bit too bothersome, since some players can enjoy a more relaxed playstyle that's not about running around your enemies like crazy and demolishing them, but instead you prefer fighting at a safe range and shooting enemies from a distance like Ganyu does. Either way, this hopefully gives you enough contrast between the two character playstyles. There's no better way to evaluate a character than to first judge your own situation. The weapons, the artifacts, and the characters, all of these things dictate what options you have, and some of us who are already busy building 2 or even 3 main damage dealers already have our hands full, and getting someone like Ganyu, who is more flexible in terms of having a role in a team, could be a better choice, but maybe at the same time, you were one of those lucky players who got Primordial Jade Wing Spear from the gacha, and now you're basically left in a hostage situation where you really don't have any other choice than to obtain Xiao to fully maximize this insane polearm. But without these extreme examples, you probably understand that giving specific advice whether you should get some characters is not very realistic, and there's a lot of factors involved when it comes to making the choice, and the best thing we can do is to follow some general advice and then determine how we feel about it. Still, to quickly summarize, the main difference between Ganyu and Xiao when it comes to their element is that one is good at breaking electro shields, but will encounter some enemies who are immune to cryo damage, while Xiao can technically break shields too, but not very likely, although he does belong to a neutral element that fares better against more monsters. And when it comes to their gimmick, they both heavily rely on it, but at least their elemental skill fully support their main offensive strategy. However, when team building, Xiao will definitely prefer to be your main damage dealer, while Ganyu can fit into more than one role. Finally, the most important thing is their playstyle, and it's clear that while Ganyu prefers long-range encounters and staying on the safe side, Xiao will be the one who goes right into the enemy front lines by utilizing his plunging attacks and dashes from his elemental skill. So overall, they're both extremely interesting characters and bring a lot to the table, and it's very exciting to see their neat design in action. Enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe to us by hitting the bell notification on and gently pressing the like button. You can also get the fastest up-to-date news regarding 1.3 by following us on Twitter. Thank you for watching us.